How you guys doing? So, this is the thing about the Pelican situation. And I wanted to try to explain this to you guys in as succinct a way as I possibly can do it. So, I look at Zion Williamson, and maybe Williamson is like a Draymond, maybe he's a Blake Griffin, maybe he's Shaquille O'Neal for a couple of years, right? I think that Zion is going to be an all-star player because he's just that powerful. He's that explosive of an athlete. He's going to be special. I don't think that he's going to be anywhere near the LeBron James caliber player that a lot of people think he's going to be. I think he's going to be a decent, like Blake Griffin, 19 points a game, 9 rebounds sort of player, like a borderline all-star player. That's exciting, that makes really, really special plays. Maybe he can be like a 24, 25 point guy like an Embiid. That would be even more sensational. But when you look at the big men in this league that are so good, they all can shoot the three-pointer fairly well. Zion Williamson is not a gifted shooter. Zion Williamson bullied guys in college, and now Zion Williamson has to go against guys that are a lot taller. So even if Zion gets good position, when you're going up against a guy who has a wingspan that's just a longer wingspan, it's going to be harder to overpower guys because you're just going to get blocked a hell of a lot. So he's going to have to live at the free-throw line. He's going to have to get out in transition, run, stay in really good shape. But overall, I think that the guy is still going to be a really good NBA player. I just don't think he's going to be a transformative NBA player. So I'm not on the saying that the guy's going to be transformative. He's going to be fun to watch, but I don't know if he's going to be an absolute superstar. I think Ja Morant is going to be a superstar. And when you look at the New Orleans Pelicans, the reason why they should select Ja Morant is because point guards are more important than power forwards in the NBA. Actually, in basketball, not only just the NBA, in basketball, when you have a floor general that makes everybody better, like when you have a Steph Curry, when you have a Damian Lillard, a guy like Chris Paul used to be on the Clippers, Mike Conley. You look at some really good point guards around the National Basketball Association. Kemba Walker's a pretty good point guard. Kyrie with the Cavs, really used to be just a tremendous point guard. So you look at guys that are great point guards, they're the guys that usually can win championships and can get to championships. Gary Payton, Jason Kidd, Steve Nash. When you have a good point guard like a Steve Nash, your franchise is always going to be really, really successful. Like Damian Lillard's going to win so many games because the ball's always going to be in his hand. And when you look at the New Orleans Pelicans and in this situation, you look at New Orleans has Drew Holiday, who's an okay to pretty good point guard. He's not an elite player. He is not going to crack the top 8 point guards in basketball. Maybe he's actually top 8, but that's it. He might be the 8th best, but he ain't winning a playoff series. He isn't going to be the best player in a playoff series. His jump shot isn't there. His athleticism is pretty good. He's a very good defender, right? But he's not a transformative point guard. When you look at Ja Morant can shoot. Ja Morant is young. Ja Morant's going to be the best passer in the NBA when he steps foot in the NBA. He's also going to be the best athlete. He's going to be Russell Westbrook. Imagine if Russell Westbrook, all of Westbrook's flaws, right? When we look at Westbrook's flaws, we think that he's a shitty teammate. We think that he's a ball-hogging guy and that he just cares about stats and that he's angry all the time and his temper is absolutely horrible. His tempers can flare. He can get in technical fouls. He's irresponsible and he's just a ball hog and he does not make his teammates better. He does not pass the ball. He's not very well coached. He's not that easy to coach. And really it's isolation basketball. Ja Morant, I don't think Ja Morant's going to be like Westbrook. I think that like Westbrook, he's going to have the best that Westbrook can bring, which is athleticism, leaping ability, tenacity. And then he's going to be able to take everything great about Russell Westbrook and he's going to then turn that into a guy that looks to pass the ball, that makes his teammates better, that doesn't just pass for assists. that pass for hockey assists, and that's why I think that Ja Morant in Memphis, the fact that he's going to the Grizzlies, Jaren Jackson's going to be so much better. Chandler Parsons will even be able to bang down some threes out there. Dylan Brooks, when he gets healthy, will be able to play in Memphis. When you look at Memphis's roster, it's not very talented, but maybe Jonas Valanciunas comes back, Jaren Jackson comes back. But the point is, for the Pelicans, they should absolutely take Ja Morant over Zion Williamson. It's not that Zion's a bad player. It's just that Ja Morant's a better player overall. If we're looking at who's going to be more successful, it's going to be Ja Morant. Ja Morant's going to be more successful than Williamson. Jarrett Culver is going to be more successful than Williamson. RJ Barrett will be more successful than Williamson. And DeAndre Hunter will be as successful as Zion Williamson. Even Tyler Hero, to a certain degree, can be more successful than Zion Williamson. So when I look at this draft class, when I look at everything involved, I just look at Ja Morant, and I think that the Pelicans should select Morant as their point guard, because Ja Morant is the point guard of your franchise. He'll be handling the basketball. He'll make everybody around him good. So you get Ja Morant, because the thing is, when Anthony Davis leaves, you're left with a power forward that's not going to be handling the ball that much at Zion Williamson. You're going to be Zion Williamson, a bunch of corpses out there playing basketball in New Orleans. Why not get a great point guard and then fill in your roster with shooters? Ja Morant could be like a Greek freak, where you can where he can make these guys really, really good. Like, if you have a Ja Morant, he'll make a George Hill good. He'll make a Pat Connaughton good. He'll make an Etuan Moore like a really good player. That's what the power of a great point guard does. He makes everybody around him better. And yes, Zion Williamson's a really good passer. He's good at just about every part of his game, but he's only 6'6". If Zion Williamson was about 7 feet, he'd be even more unstoppable. But the reality is, the guy's only 6'7", so he's short. And Zion Williamson, the reason why I think people really, rate Zion highly is because his character is off the charts. I mean, he's exactly the guy that you want to see do well. You don't ever want to critique a guy with his infectious smile. That's how I would describe his personality. He's kind of infectious in that the way, he can light up a room with his smile. He helps his teammates get better. He's really a selfless individual. He's a great guy. He was raised the right way. And you want to see guys that are raised the right way. You want to see them succeed, and you don't ever want to throw caution to Zion Williamson, because you don't want to throw caution to a kid that's going to be like the next Bo Jackson, who's going to be so successful. And I just knock on wood that he never gets hurt. But I look at Ja Morant, and this isn't even that much of a slight against Zion. It's just that Ja Morant's such a special point guard. Like, when else are you going to see a kid that had 0 stars coming out of high school, that had to go to Murray State to prove himself, and when else are you going to see a player of his athletic ability combined with his selflessness, and the ability that he has to make his teammates better? That's why New Orleans, when Anthony Davis leaves, New Orleans has nobody that they can bank their franchise on. I mean, they're going to be banking it on Zion, and then Zion already said he wanted to go to New York. It's almost like Eli Manning a little bit. He already wants to go to New York, or he wanted to go to the Lakers. So now Zion Williamson, he's not going to like New Orleans that much. The NBA is probably going to pressure him to leave in a couple of years, where Ja Morant was content living in Murray, Kentucky. Ja Morant was content living in the small town. He likes the small town. He's going to be a lifer in New Orleans if New Orleans picks him. So you have to consider, from a culture standpoint, Ja Morant is going to love staying in New Orleans forever. And then you build a team around a point guard. You build it from the outside in. That's how you build a basketball team. So then at number 3, you go out and you get a DeAndre Hunter. You can get a Tobias Harris in free agency. You bring in a Willie Cauley-Stein. You trade then Drew Holiday and the Knicks Mavericks pick, because this is what you do. You go to number 3. this is what you do. You go to the third pick overall, and you say to Ja Morant, that, you go to Morant, and pretty much it's either Jarrett Culver or Hunter. Who's going to fit better with Ja Morant if you're the Pelicans? And the answer to that question at number 3, when you trade Anthony Davis to the Knicks, you get back a Mavericks pick. Remember the Mavericks pick from Porzingis the Knicks have? So if you're the Pelicans, you get Ja Morant, and then at number 3, I would select DeAndre Hunter, because then you have your small forward. Then at number 9, what I would do is I would trade with the teams at number 8 or 9. I'd get my shooting guard of the future. I'd trade Jrue Holiday and your Pelicans pick, maybe your own pick or the Mavericks pick, to go up and get Tyler Hero. So then your starting lineup is Tyler Hero, Ja Morant, DeAndre Hunter. You can then add Tobias Harris. You can pay him big money. Or you could just stick with Kevin Knox. You can get Kevin Knox from the Knicks, but I don't even think he's necessary. Actually, you get Kevin Knox because you use Knox as a trade piece. You get Kevin Knox. That's a perfect asset you just should get. You get Kevin Knox. You get the Knicks Mavericks pick, and you get pretty much DeAndre Hunter with the third pick. Then you trade Kevin Knox for Tyler Hero. You trade that straight up. Then you go to the Magic and you say to the Magic, hey, let me take Aaron Gordon's contract off of your hands. Let me trade Jrue Holiday and my 2 first-round picks. And that contract, which is not looking so good for the Mavericks, where they're paying Aaron Gordon a crazy amount of money, the Pelicans can afford that. Then the Pelicans should fire Alvin Gentry, hire Steve Nash, hire Jared Dudley as a player coach, and then you bring in a Derrick Rose to back up Ja Morant. You bring in veterans like J.J. Redick and Danny Green, Willie Cauley-Stein, Aaron Gordon, and you have Aaron Gordon, Cauley-Stein, DeAndre Hunter. You look at Tobias Harris as a possibility, Tyler Hero and Morant. You have an elite team. Your starting lineup would be Ja Morant, DeAndre Hunter, who you just acquired, Tobias Harris, who you're going to pay the max to, Aaron Gordon, and I forgot it. Let's go. Let's do it again. Ja Morant as your point guard, Tyler Hero as your shooting guard, DeAndre Hunter as your forward, Tobias Harris as your forward, Aaron from the Mavericks, Aaron Gordon from the Magic as your center, Willie Cauley-Stein backing up Aaron Gordon, Derrick Rose and J.J. Redick and Danny Green all on veteran deals, all adding leadership components to your team. I mean, that's a team right now. If you have Ja Morant, who's one of the great point guards in basketball now, who's going to be incredible from day one, a Hall of Famer in his first year. You then have Tyler Hero, who's just a brilliant shooter, like a Devin Booker from Kentucky, another Kentucky kid who could shoot the lights out. He'll average like 23 points a game. You then add Tobias Harris as a max. You then add Harris. Then you have Willie Cauley-Stein and Aaron Gordon catching lobs. Now that's a team worth the price of admission. Then you go and get DeAndre Hunter, who at your third pick, he's going to be a lockdown defender. He's going to average like 17 points. He's going to be an absolute rock star. He doesn't need the basketball to be successful. That's the thing. If you draft Jarrett Culver needs the ball a little bbit more. Jarrett Culver is almost like another point guard, where DeAndre Hunter's a better guy off of the basketball. He's more of a forward, more of a big man, more of just a great shooter. And then Ja Morant can do his thing unimpeded. And then you have Willie Cauley-Stein and Aaron Gordon catching lobs. I mean, how good does that team sound as opposed to like an RJ Barrett, Zion Williamson, Anthony Davis? I don't get why people are fixated on Anthony Davis. That guy said he would leave already. There's no way that after 1 year playing with Zion that he's going to want to stay there. And plus, your point guard situation is going to suck. Jrue Holiday is old already. So Jrue Holiday is a very underrated player. He's a very likable player. We all like Jrue Holiday because he doesn't get talked about that much because he's not one of the elite point guards in basketball. So you're just going to have Zion and Drew Holiday. That's all you really want. And then Anthony Davis is going to leave. You know what I mean? And then you might get like a Jaylen Brown or a Jason Tatum with like a Zion Williamson or Drew Holiday. It's an okay team. It's nothing like the team I just laid out with Ja Morant, DeAndre Hunter, getting a Tobias Harris, trading those assets from like Kevin Knox and trading for an Aaron Gordon, getting a Tobias Harris. There's nothing like it. You can have Ja Morant. You could really have Ja Morant, Ja Morant, Culver, and even Kevin Knox. So as long as you get Ja Morant and you get the third overall pick, that's the way to go. Ja Morant's going to be better than Zion Williamson. He is. He's going to be better than Zion Williamson. He's going to be sensational. He's going to change the Grizzlies forever. And the Pelicans are going to mess it up because Ja Morant is a point guard and point guards are more important. It's almost like the same argument. If you're dealing with a great quarterback like a Trevor Lawrence and a Saquon Barkley, as much as I like Saquon Barkley, you take Trevor Lawrence. If you're dealing with a Tua Tagovailoa or a Todd Gurley, you take Tua Tagovailoa. So it's like a quarterback. The quarterback of basketball is a point guard. And a forward is like a wide receiver or a running back equivalent. That's what Zion is going to be. He needs a good point guard. Look at Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant can dribble the ball like a point guard. Look at Giannis Antetokounmpo is becoming a point guard. Ben Simmons, the biggest guys in the league are becoming point guards. And Zion Williamson plays bully 1990s basketball, which is a nice throwback. But how high is that ceiling going to be? And if you had Ja Morant would stay and he would transform a culture because that's what point guards do. That's what elite point guards change teams. Look what Trae Young's going to do. Look what Steph is going to do. Even if the Warriors had Clay, Durant, and let's just say a Drew Holiday, or let's just say an Evan Turner or a Terry Rozier, they would not be the Golden State Warriors. They are the Warriors because of the point guard Steph Curry. Look at if you take Steph Curry away from Golden State, what happens to Golden State? So if you're the Pelicans, do you want an elite point guard or do you just want an exciting forward? And I think that if you were running the Pelicans, you got to take Ja Morant. That's what I would be doing right now. I would run to the table, get Ja Morant. I'd get DeAndre Hunter. I'd bring in Kevin Knox and future picks. I would trade Kevin Knox straight up for Tyler Hero in the draft. I would do that. I would select Tyler Hero, give Kevin Knox up. I'd trade Drew Holiday to the Magic, and I'd get Aaron Gordon back because the Magic have all the big men. So you get Aaron Gordon, Ja Morant, Tyler Hero, DeAndre Hunter. Then you look at maybe adding a Tobias Harris. Maybe you can add a Tobias Harris in free agency. You get Willie Cauley-Stein to add depth, to add a great center. Your defense would be elite with Hero and Hunter. It would be a great, great defense. You'd have Tobias Harris. You'd pay him all the money he wants because you'd be able to afford it. That sounds like the team worth building in New Orleans. New Orleans with Anthony Davis has the ability to make this happen, to make really special things occur. But if they just sit back and they just take Zion and hope Anthony Davis stays, and they end up going to February, why would a team trade for Anthony Davis other than the Knicks in February when the guy can flat out leave? Are you going to get things back in a great playoff run, or are you going to take a generational great forward like DeAndre Hunter at number 3? Who's unbustable, who's going to be tremendous, who won with Virginia, who's clutch, who can rebound, who can lock down anybody. DeAndre Hunter is one of the best two-way players to enter into the league in quite a long time. So that's what you have to think about if you're the New Orleans Pelicans. Pick Ja Morant.